Hello folks, coming up next is something interesting. What was a dude, just go home kinda moment when you witnessed someone trying to impress people? Myself and a friend were at a pub. Just two girls having a drink and a laugh. There was a dude who was bothering us all night. He was pretty drunk and very annoying. We were polite to him at first and conversed, but he was getting very sexual with his comments, so my friend just told him to frick off. He left us alone, but at closing time we were outside waiting for our cab and he started again. Only this time he was being an even bigger dick, calling us sluts and witches etc. A big guy who was close walked over and told him to piss off and stop bothering us. The drunk guy then tried to punch the big guy but misses, then realizing Hess about to get his butt beat runs across the road and gets hit by a car. I hate sluts, but I want these girls to have random casual sex with me, and if they don't then they're even bigger sluts. I'm a lifeguard, so I see lots of really awkward interactions between 12 to 14 years/0 kids. My favorite is when a kid belly flopped trying to impress a girl and ended up throwing up instead. Can any women out there confirm or deny if belly flops are a good approach to getting laid? Gotta show them you are alpha by asserting dominance over the water. The red belly is the mark of a true man. I had a guy pull up in the lane beside my car on a motorcycle at a red light. He did this little wave and kissy smooch face at me and kept ruining it up. When the light turned he tried to do a wheelie takeoff and ended up falling off. I stopped and asked if he was okay, at which point he realized that I was old enough to be his mother. Still makes me laugh. This is my fave so far. This dude failed without alcohol, guitar or a teenage BS story. Maybe it wasn't he realized that you were old enough to be his mother, but rather how women older than him could be so hot. I was in the smoking area of a busy bar with a friend of mine, and he started chatting up a girl. I was doing the usual small talk with her friend, you know, the small talk that has the subtext of, well, those two are probably gonna bang, how about this weather we've been having, huh? My drunk friend decided to do the condom trick to impress his newfound lady friend. The trick where you unroll a condom, snort it up your nose, and spit it out your mouth. Well, it went a bit wrong. The condom went up his nose alright, and some of it managed to drop down into his throat, but the base of it stayed lodged somewhere around his sinuses. Within seconds, theatrical snorting gave way to uncontrollable coughing, choking noises, and then projectile vomiting that sprayed out his mouth and his one unblocked nostril, covering the table, a large area of floor, and, of course, his newfound lady friend. Cleared the entire smoking room, got us both thrown out of the bar, and needless to say he did not get laid that night. My best friend in high school used to come up with the most insane lies to be more interesting. She used to tell us her dad, who she had no contact with, owned multiple houses in an area similar to, I'd say, Malibu. She used to say she was a child model, and that her family opened the first Coke factory. It never stopped, and a year after we graduated, she bought a ring at something like a dollar store and told everyone she was engaged to a model from the US. When we asked to see a photo, she used a stock photo from Google Imau. We constantly had second-hand embarrassment. I feel a bit sorry for her. She clearly has some genuine social issues that she needs to address. We were all waiting for the bus after school and this kid whipped out a guitar and sang a god-awful remix of some Jason Mraz song to his love interest. It didn't help that his absurdly unkempt fingernails were used as his guitar pick. It was a train wreck, and I still violently cringe whenever I think about the poor girl just standing there trying to be polite throughout the ordeal. Oh God. Friends of ours have a sailboat and a ton of sailing friends. Several years ago, their daughter's first communion rolls around and they have a massive bash. Now the thing about sailing people is they're friendly, and you cannot tell the guy with the 50-footer from the guy who scrapes the barnacles off. Especially when everyone is hanging out in a backyard with a bunch of beer and barbecue. New neighbor is there too. He does his Becco say I'm a la wire thing where he's all pompous. Talks to this nice older lady and treats her like dirt because he's a la wire. He makes sure she knows that he is very important. Because he's a lawyer. 10 minutes later, he's doing his pompous lawyer thing with someone else, who says, "Oh, hey, I have a great contact for you to meet." Drags the anus lawyer over and says, "Judy, meet, a-hole. A-hole, this is Judy, Dean at Georgetown Law." It was, of course, the nice older lady. I was at a wedding on one of the islands far off the northwest coast of Scotland. We were at the reception in a hotel. It was around 9 p.m, things were going well, everyone was having fun. A bunch of residents came into the function suite, and most of them were fine. They kinda just disappeared into the mix, really. But this one lad. The happy couple were amongst the last in our friendship group to tie the knot. Consequently, almost all of the women there were married. This one lad decided he was going to have a crack at pulling each woman. He went around the room, in sequence. When he crashed and burned with one, he'd go on to the next. Usually, the next was in earshot of the previous conversation. He would use the same line on each lady: "Why have you come here? It's a total poop hole?" Nobody gave him any grief, we were all in too good of a mood. And he was wrong, it wasn't a poop hole, at least not for a visit. Perhaps a bit limiting to live there, but for a visit it was lovely. It was this dude in high school who kept talking about how he was gonna sing a song to a girl he was crushing on and win her heart. We all thought he was just being stupid. Well, charity drive week comes, and you could rent the mic in the cafe to raise money. Most people used it to play their favorite CD or make their friends suffer through the worst 70s pop music or whatever. Well, this effer Gary rents the mic and sings something to the girl, and dedicates it to her. So she's embarrassed as F and walks out almost immediately, and I don't even remember if he was terrible or not, but basically everyone was just like WTF. At a party, a drunk guy was bragging to girls he could take everyone there in a fight because of his high pain tolerance and asked someone to break a bottle over his head, which they happily obliged, so he pounded the rest of his beer and knocked him good over the head, but the bottle didn't bust, instead it just bounced off and he fell face first into a block wall unconscious with a huge knot forming on his head and blood streaming from his now broken nose. This is why women statistically live longer. As a man, I 100% agree. Guy in an expensive looking suit, with an expensive looking haircut, carrying an expensive looking briefcase, pushing through a bunch of people at a bus stop, including elderly, while loudly talking on the phone about the VIP accounts he managed. He kept looking at people and smirking. When the light changed, he immediately charged across the street, saying something like, "Move, I'm more important than you," and he slipped on the roadkill possum in the crosswalk, and put his hand in it. Oh man. The justice boner I have right now is raging. What a twat. Glad he got his right quick, so all y'all could see. 2 years ago at a 4-day camping music festival, it was 2 or 3 in the morning and our group had made our way back to our campsite, sitting around and chilling for a bit before those of us who were turning in did so. Occasionally the group picks up hangers-on in the forest, and for the most part they're cool people. This guy was being obnoxious, though, and I don't know who he was tagging along with. Perhaps that person had left again, and this guy felt he had found an audience. He was on an inflatable sofa between a couple of others, the rest of the circle made up with camping chairs. Some people are sitting, some are walking around or going in and out of tents preparing to head back out. He keeps asking people for topics to freestyle about. Give me a word, man. Or a thing. I'll freestyle about it. I'm good but I gotta get better, and you guys can help me practice. He would just keep repeating that until someone humored him and give him a starting word. For the life of me, I can't remember a single one of the prompts he dragged out of us. But when he got one, it would always go the same way. He'd start improvising 4 or 5 syllable lines that included the initial word, then he'd get maybe 1 or 2 coherent lines after that which rhymed. Then he would just kind of fall into a mumble, not saying anything but keeping the rhythm he established. Occasionally words would bubble up out of the mumble mush, usually things that rhyme with his starting word. After he'd run dry on a word, which never took long, he'd immediately start pestering someone else for a topic. Even when it was hinted at that we were after a quieter, calmer atmosphere, he just went, "Yeah man, that's cool, I get it, give me a word, man. I can freestyle about anything." We eventually convinced him to go try to find his friends. But of the people who were around, no one was impressed, and everyone just wanted him to stop. On our last week of high school we had senior day where the school rents 10 to 15 inflatable awesome things for kids to do and we just have a giant field day. Problem, on our senior day, the stuff didn't show up on time. So they crowded us all into the auditorium, gave us a microphone and essentially just let us all vamp for an hour and a half. There were impressions of others, jokes, people sharing heartfelt memories, some people singing. So this one kid, who was a definite loner, runs to his car and brings back his speakers and a guitar. Hooks everything up and just starts playing, and playing pretty well. But he's a loner, so it's not really mainstream stuff and he's not singing or anything, just playing. It was great for like 3 minutes. A lot of us were impressed. Hey, we learned something about Mikey. Good for him, he wrapped up the first song, and went into the second and a third, and a fourth. And didn't relinquish the stage for like 20 minutes. We were all mostly quiet and polite, gave the occasional cheer and clap. But we would clap after each song like, okay buddy, take your bow, you've earned your moment, let's go. But he just took every applause as let's do it again, so he start right back up. It was the most awkward thing watching him and realizing that every single person in the room wanted him to stop, but he just kept on jammin'. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.